Let's imagine a scientist named Maria. She has spent her entire life in a black-and-white laboratory studying the neurophysiology of the color red. Over the years, she has memorized every piece of information related to this color. She knows the exact wavelengths of light, the psychology of red, the pathways that neurons take from the retina to the brain, and what happens inside the brain during this process. She understands the hormonal, electrical, and mechanical changes that occur both within the body and in the external world when a person perceives the color red. In short, she knows absolutely everything about it. But what will happen when Maria finally sees red with her own eyes? Will she discover something new? Will there be a kind of knowledge that goes beyond what she learned in her black and white room? This thought experiment is known as Mary's room, and philosophers usually debate its answer. But let's turn this question around. What if Maria had been seeing red her whole life, and only then decided to record and systematize her experiences? Would she gain a deeper understanding? Would she learn something extra? Would her experience of red become richer? I believe so. For instance, researcher Guy Deutscher, author of Through the Language Glass, Why the World Looks Different in Other Languages, conducted a fascinating experiment. He raised his daughter without drawing her attention to the color of the sky. Then, one day, he asked her what color she saw when she looked up. Alma, his daughter, had no answer. To her, the sky was colorless. Eventually, she managed to call it blue, but only with effort. The ancient Greeks lacked a word for blue as well. Homer, for example, described the sea as the color of dark wine. In his writings, other colors are mentioned hundreds of times, but blue simply doesn't appear. Did the Greeks actually see the sea differently from us? To investigate, scientist Jules Davidoff studied the Himba tribe. Their language has just one word for both blue and green. Here's a puzzle. Which of these squares looks different? For us, the answer is obvious, but the Himba identify it much more slowly. They must carefully compare each square because they lack a distinct word to separate blue from green. This experiment has been repeated many times, even with Russian speakers. Since Russian has a separate word for light blue, Russians are quicker to distinguish certain shades than English speakers. Similarly, the Altai people can differentiate shades more finely than the Chinese because their language contains more categories of color. Language, then, shapes how we see colors, how we understand space, and even how we draw objects. In some sense, describing the world is almost as important as the world itself. Sometimes, however, even though we constantly interact with something, it remains hidden from us. Take our own experiences, for example. Like the pygmies, for whom the sky and the grass look the same, we struggle to tell the difference between anger directed at others and anger directed at ourselves. We often fail to see the motives behind our actions, or even recognize the emotions we're experiencing, the mistakes we make, or what truly improves our lives. We rarely pay attention to the shades of our own moods. In short, we don't really know ourselves. That is why I write in my journal almost every day. Only by describing yourself can you truly see yourself. Science supports this. By putting our experiences and events into words, we build a coherent narrative about who we are, how we live, and what we want. We gain self-awareness, self-confidence, and more control over our emotions. Our chaotic feelings become clear and structured, while the hidden black holes of our inner world are suddenly illuminated by a bright light. Imagine you've never seen your reflection, and then one day, you look into a mirror. Something extraordinary happens. It's as if you're peeking behind the scenes. That's what journaling does. It becomes a mirror for your inner self. We discover things we didn't even know existed. This is why journaling lowers stress levels, as shown by changes in brain activity and reduced stress hormones. It helps us let go of anxiety, ease depressive symptoms, process trauma, and even recover faster from mental illness. Surprisingly, simply writing down your life can also speed up physical healing. Studies show it can help wounds close more quickly, reduce the symptoms of asthma and arthritis, improve blood pressure, lung capacity, liver function, and even strengthen the immune system. It may sound like science fiction, but it is backed by real research. For me personally, the most fascinating benefit is productivity. Our cognitive abilities grow as well. In a 2001 study, scientists asked participants to keep a journal for just 1 week. Afterwards, their working memory improved significantly. This makes sense. Our minds are always cluttered with unprocessed information. By transferring it onto paper, we free up mental space. Now, memory doesn't have to hold endless facts, emotions, plans, and experiences. They're all written down, leaving us free to focus on what truly matters. That's why people who keep journals tend to earn better grades, miss fewer days of work, and recover more quickly from hardships. It's no coincidence that geniuses like Leonardo da Vinci, Albert Einstein, Mark Twain, Marie Curie, Winston Churchill, Benjamin Franklin, Charles Darwin, and countless others kept diaries. For me, journaling is the most powerful self-discovery tool I know. So, how should you keep a journal? Ideally, take pen and paper and spend 15 minutes each day writing. The more emotional, vivid, and detailed your entries are, the more valuable they become. But let's be honest, such a habit is difficult to maintain consistently. That's where I say the best journal is the one you actually keep. Personally, I prefer typing on my computer, since handwriting slows me down. I don't write daily, nor do I force myself to always express emotions, but I try. Some of my entries are just 100 words, others reach 10,000. Sometimes I reflect on my thoughts, sometimes I plan my schedule. On lazy days, I even dictate instead of typing. At times, my writing is full of rich, complex sentences. At other times, it reads like a financial report. What matters most is this: by turning my inner world inside out and laying it before me, I find myself. And I hope the same will work for you. Happiness and good luck.